Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Ashley, and on here we like to talk about my trauma and how you can use it to essentially learn from it and not make the same mistakes I did. Now, in today's story, I want to talk about the power of being an introvert. Now, for the longest time, I have been called an introvert, and that's because I am, and I'm totally fine with that, especially now. I've very much have grown into the power of being an introvert, not becoming. I have always been super quiet. I've always been much more observant. I've kept to myself. And for the longest time, I was always made to feel like there was something wrong with me because I was an introvert. And being little, you tend to listen to the adults around you, especially when those adults are people like your parents or sometimes teachers, parents of your friends, and you don't really have the power to speak up. You don't feel like you know better than these people. You trust them because you think that they're the adult and that they know better than you. And so for the longest time, I used to think that there was something horribly wrong with me because I was so quiet. I didn't like speaking up. I didn't like asking too many questions. The question thing came from a different traumatic experience that I used to have with my father, which is for a completely different video, but it also fed into the introvertedness part of me where I just did not like speaking. I did not like participating. I didn't like going out and being part of larger groups. And another thing that made this incredibly difficult for me to understand or see the benefit in was when I would often be compared to my sister. Now, my father had a way of comparing the both of us that was not always direct. For the most part, it was a little bit more indirect, but there were times where he would slip up and he would make a straight up comparison. My sister was a little bit more extroverted. She had a little bit more personality than I did. And he would often compare me to her in the way of saying, why can't you be more like your sister? And this was like a punch to the gut because I already had a lot of problems with him. I already had a lot of self-confidence issues. I always felt like I wasn't good enough for him. And to constantly hear that he was comparing me to my sister, but also my younger sister, it just really made me feel like it didn't matter what I did. I was never going to be good enough. So that kind of solidified the thought in my mind that there's something wrong with me and I don't know how to change it. And I'm sure there are a lot of people out there that go through the exact same thing, that they are told that they need to speak up more, that they're too quiet, that they're antisocial, when in reality, being introverted has its own benefits. The same way an extrovert will benefit from their personalities, an introvert will also benefit from theirs. Now, I really want you guys to understand that there is nothing wrong with being an introvert. It just means you operate in a different way. And you're good at different things than an extrovert would be. Now, one of the things that I learned that was a superpower when it came to being an introvert is how observant I was. Now, a lot of people thought that this was intimidating, that I didn't say much. I just observed the room, that I was uninterested. Whatever they wanted to say, it was simply not the case. I was just observing the room. I was observing people. I was observing behavior, microaggressions, little nuanced things that most people would not even think of catching or people would overlook. And the reason I started doing this was because I did feel shy. I was shy. I felt uncomfortable. And so I just started to observe people, observe their actions in order to kind of study them and try to understand what was going on a little bit more so I could have a better read on the social cues that were going on. on the social situation, and that way I could adapt my interaction accordingly. But what I did not realize at the time is that all of these observations were teaching me how to read people on a much deeper level. And then this would later on feed into my intuition. And this is how I became incredibly good at knowing whether or not someone was trustworthy, whether or not somebody had good intentions, whether or not someone was lying about whatever it is that they were trying to cover up, whether or not someone was just putting on a strong face because they were actually struggling on the inside. It just gave me this I don't want to say talent, but this skill that truly allowed me to read people on a much deeper level, and then be able to make decisions on that would later prove me to be correct. And the way this has helped me has been incredible. Like, I'm not only able to help myself, to save myself from certain situations, but I'm also able to help other people. And one of the ways I really like doing this is when I notice that somebody might be a little bit introverted as well, and they don't necessarily know how to speak up for themselves, or I can tell that they are uncomfortable and it might not be obvious to the person that is making them uncomfortable. And this can be in many different scenarios, especially stuff at work. If there's a specific person that is in charge and they are talking to other people on their team and they might be making them slightly uncomfortable with certain tasks or just directions in general, because for whatever reason this person might not be confident in their abilities, or they might be confused, it allows me to read the situation and truly step in and provide that additional step or that additional level of support that someone might need. Another way this has truly helped me out has been when it comes to saving myself from red flag situations. I cannot count the amount of times that I've just been able to tell that somebody is up to no good. I can tell when somebody is going to betray me, and I don't even know how I do this, but it's just a feeling that I get. And it's usually like my inner voice, my inner dialogue telling me to run, to keep an eye on this person, but to also get away from them as fast as I can. It also allows me to gauge conversations and see where people are at when it comes to networking, when it comes to social situations, when it comes to personal relationships. I can tell by people's body language, by what they're saying, by what they're not saying, as to which direction the conversation is going in. So all of this to say that it has definitely taken me years and years and years to build this up to where I am at today, where I can confidently assess a situation or a person and make a decision based off of that. But I really want people to understand that being an introvert doesn't mean that there's something wrong with you. It actually gives you the ability to do things that extroverts cannot do. And one of the ways that I've been able to really ingrain this into my mind is looking at my husband versus myself. My husband is definitely an extrovert, probably the most extroverted person I've ever met. And he is naturally good at so many things that would take me, it would take me so much to do something that is so easy for him. For example, he's really good at networking, talking to people. He could sell ice to an Eskimo. Whereas for me, I would have a hard time with that. I would struggle with that, and I'm okay with that. But on the other hand, he overlooks little things that I catch, that I pay attention to because I'm not talking. Because while I do listen, while I do go into situations with good intentions, I'm also able to stand back, not fully participate, just really listen, observe to the person, feel out the vibe, because the introverted side of me is telling me that you need to do this in order to make an important decision or the appropriate decision. So I really want all of the introverts out there to realize that there is nothing wrong with you because you're introverted. It just means that you're good at other things. And while this might be my personal superpower, this might be what I'm good at, being introverted might also allow you to connect with other parts of yourself that you haven't fully connected with. Just because the world idolizes extroverted people, people that are entertainers, people that are outspoken, it does not mean that you are not a valuable member of society. There are plenty of introverts out there that are famous, that are able to do amazing things. You don't have to be a nobody just because you're an introvert. For example, I would probably say that there are several actors out there that have even called themselves introvert, but they're still amazing actors. And this is because they're able to take all of those emotions that they're feeling on the inside and really translate them out in a meaningful way. I would say Cillian Murphy is an introvert. The guy from Queen that played Freddie Mercury, I forget his name, but he has said multiple times that he's definitely an introvert. And then when it comes to other people, there are plenty of artists, musicians, writers. I think a majority of writers are actually very introverted people, and the best way they know how to communicate is by putting their words on paper, which gives them a complete different direction in life. It gives them a different angle in life that is not bad, it's not wrong, it's just different. So if you are introverted, please remember that there is nothing wrong with you. You just have to find out what it is that you are naturally good at and build from there. All right, that's it for today's video. A little bit of a shorter one, but I just wanted to share that quick lesson because it has definitely helped me in life, and I hope it can help you guys as well. All right, so if you guys are interested, I also have a Substack where I do some additional writing. I'll put the link below, and I will see you guys in the next video.